Much for keeping it Citizen TV. Janet, before we went on that commercial break, so there's this, how do you respond to the comments that we've empowered the girl child enough, yeah, we've forgotten about the boy child, and genuinely, have we done so? Have we really empowered the girl child that we've forgotten about the boys?
First of all, ally, thank you. It's amazing to have, I always say that I think for women to, part of the reason that women can succeed is two things, guts and allies. So he represents the allies. Yes, I get that on my timeline at least once a week.
Wow.
About what about the boy child? And there's two things I usually ask, because it usually comes from men. And I ask, but what are you doing? Because I feel like in so many ways, I don't know, this may go a bit off tangent, but there's a lot that's lauded on the woman to do. From time immemorial, whether it's our parents' time, whether it's before, yes, there's about running the home, but somehow you're supposed to run the home, still stay sane and either run a business and still serve food, and there's a lot that's lauded on. Now, those times were there, and I'm not saying that it shouldn't be done. For some people, that's how they feel, that's their love language, that's how they feel they're contributing. But what really irks me is that entitlement that this is what you're supposed to do, this is your role. So not only are you supposed to be working or speaking on issues, or a mom, or a partner, or leading in your industry, but you're also supposed to take on the responsibility of nurturing and looking after boys outside of what it is you do. So my mandate for Inua Dada is around what she's talking about what Yasmin is saying, which is access to menstrual products, right? And we're not discrediting boys. I have two sons, and this has become my reality on how do I get Huru and Mali to understand that gender equality is not a fight against boys and men. That it's when everybody has equal opportunities, we thrive. Yes, the packaging may be misunderstood, because let's be honest, it's been decades of fighting for a seat at the table, right? And so when it was the Martha Karuas and Wangari Maathais, there may have been some level of aggression because it was needed.
Janet, can I ask you a question that nowadays seems to be touching women the wrong way, or the right, depending on how you look at it? Are you a feminist? Would you consider yourself a feminist? A feminist is anybody who believes that girls and women deserve equal opportunity. So yeah, if you believe that, male or female, you're a feminist. Because we're talking about packaging. Yeah. And there are certain women, there are certain feminists, the far rights, like in every organization or in every ideology, there's always the extremists, that the way they package it, and yet they're women. Yes. Do you feel as if such women who package empowerment like that end up making the strides all these women here are making, and the ones who went before us and will come after us, that they make it difficult? And we were just talking about that with Hope. We were saying that there was a video going around where a woman was saying, oh, feminism is a scam because I'm still unmarried and I don't have a family. But I really think that with everything, people need to understand what the meaning behind a movement is, and not looking at semantics and how people are, maybe what do you call it? The optics of it can be very misleading. When you look at why organizations around, empowering marginalized, let's say, ethnicities in Kenya, empowering the black communities in the US, they exist because, empowering persons with disability. Sometimes we get carried away with the optics and we forget what the messaging is. Feminism, yes, it does have people. I was telling her this times I've gotten pushback, but because maybe I don't look like a feminist, or you know what I mean, but I believe I am. I have now the authority and audacity to speak about female issues because I've gone through them. I have gone through people saying, you don't deserve a place here because you're either too young or you're female, or you need to stay at a certain level because of your race. I mean, there's nothing I haven't been through. Ageism, sexism, xenophobia, all of them. All of them. But I still had this gut in me that said, what do you mean? And also it helped that I was raised in a family with men like my dad. My dad is a true feminist. I told him the other day, I'm like, I don't think you know it, Dad, but you're a feminist. Because what did he say? When I told him that? Yes. Yeah, I mean, he laughed. He's like, I guess. Because he doesn't have an issue with you wanting to achieve whatever. You want to be an astronaut? Go ahead and do it. He doesn't understand. He was telling me he doesn't understand how there's no access to sanitary towels in this day and age. He said that. He's like, that's ridiculous. And he said, that's sexism. That's not prioritizing where girls should be. So in a nutshell, to answer the questions you asked, one, yes, I get pushback about the boy child. Do I think the boy has been ignored? I think that we, as people who are pushing for the advancement of women and girls, are doing our best to have an inclusive conversation. I think those people who are triggered need to step up.
they really need to step up. You can't be triggered and sit back and do nothing. If you really feel like boys need to see people who look like them, need to hear from people who look like them, you need to do something. And that's what I always challenge them. I'm like, yes, we go to mixed schools and we go for both boys and girls, but the boys will call you aside and say, where are the men?
Yeah.
I've been asked that by boys before, and it makes me so sad, which means if you're triggered, step up. I always believe if you're triggered by anything, step up in your own way, even if it's a tweet or a post, or if you're going to march, step up. So yes, boys, I believe, need more male mentors. The other thing that you asked about feminism, the feminism movement is still very necessary.
But even how we package, the way we package...
I mean, it's a bit of a contentious one, because for some people, that anger and aggression stems from a place of experience. You know, you can't take it away from them. You can't say, gosh, tone it down. If you tone it down, maybe I'll listen to you. Maybe that's speaking. Wangari Maathai, I loved that woman. But you saw her level of stepping up on issues. She was ready to do whatever it takes. I just don't think that should be expected of each and every single person in terms of the approach. I do believe that there's a place for, I always say there's no voice that's too small and no voice that is unnecessary. So if you have a more aggressive out there feminist and you have the more docile ones, we all are trying to say the same thing. So when men get triggered by this woman is coming too loud, I also think we need to look past that and just look at the message. What is she trying to say? She's standing for something that says, if we're able to do this, it helps everyone. We're not saying, you sit down, men, we don't need you. And there's so much pushback online now. God, we get DMs being called feminazis and everything. I mean, we're abused all the time. But I'm like, I know why I'm doing this, and I know why I'm saying this, because I actually want a better world for Huru and Mali, but that only can happen when they realize that we all need equal opportunities. But because girls and women culturally or politically were left behind, we do need to amplify that voice, but it's for everyone. It's for everyone. And so packaging it even for boys, for little boys, is something else, and that's something that
As you were giving your last statement, she took the mic from Yasmin and she was like, I need to get in on this conversation. Do you want to respond? I also had a question for you, but you can respond to what she said first.
Okay, there's no problem. I think that exactly just the same thing. When we are beginning law school, we also have a segment that is called Feminism in the Law. And so one of our lecturers once asked us, who is a feminist? And when she asked that, the entire class raised their hands. But then when she asked, who believes in feminism, we were like 5 people who had our hands up. Because then we realized, the lecturer realized that people don't understand what feminism means. And you know, I liked the response that Janet has given. Who is a feminist? A feminist is a person that believes in equal opportunities for both boys and girls, men and women. And that is exactly what feminism is. So you find that we have a lot of different kinds of feminists outside here giving, you know, messages that are on different radars. And so we have a lot of backlash because we do not have a synchronized message. That is the problem that we are getting. And I want people to understand, and I'm urging people to understand, that for feminism, we are not competing with the boys. We are not fighting to get their space.
Hope, do you think the term feminism is the what has brought about a lot of the challenges for the movement? The same way Brexit. Psychologists will tell you automatically, just because of the naming, you know, it will consciously or unconsciously have. Do you think that naming itself?
And my question would be, what other name to call it? Because then again, this is exactly what is the message we are bringing out there. You see, I think that people are receiving this message with a lot of negativity, and that is the biggest hindrance we are getting, because we have been so comfortable with just having the status quo. Let everything remain as it is. You know, women can just be fine doing all these other mediocre and miniature things, and we the men are just fine being the CEOs and whatever. What we are asking is to get equal opportunities, because we can do it. I was reading something called the Canadian Feminist Policy, and their major aim is to eradicate poverty. You see, I think the Canadians are very brilliant when you look at that, because they understand that to be able to eliminate poverty, you need to get both men and women on board. Because look at this case scenario. When we are calculating our GDP for the country, per capita income is subdivided by all people in the country. But then again, the burden of income is on one gender. So you see, we end up having a low GDP, and we also end up having a very highly dependent society. But if we had every single person contributing, look at the beauty that we would have in our country. Yeah?
That's an interesting point.
Exactly. So that is what we are looking. We want people to open their eyes to see that when we are working for both empowerment for both girls and boys is for the betterment of the society.
Let me ask.
Hope for president. Hope for president.
I will definitely run.
So let me ask you one last thing before I bring Yasmin in. Do you think that there are women who are fighting not for women's empowerment, but fighting women's empowerment?
Yes.
Either because maybe the perceptions they have from days gone by, or because of things they are doing now that take back women's rights because they allow themselves to do stuff that women today should not be doing. Are you concerned about that?
I am concerned, definitely. There was a question that you had asked Edwin previously about, can we blame both genders for playing a part in the kind of things that we are seeing now? Yes. And I would say definitely that is happening. When you look at men, for the case scenario of men and boys, they are the ones reinforcing these stereotypes that have been there since time immemorial. Yeah, when you look at it's time for, when it comes to business opportunities, you know, most of these jobs you go and you'd find so many women looking. Most of my friends have looked for internships, and the first question they're asked is based on they're getting opportunities because of their bodies, and you know, if they're able to sleep with one of the directors or whatever, they can be able to get opportunities. So you see, we still have such people who are reinforcing the conversation that we had previously. They were like, if we don't use women nude enough, they won't sell, we won't make our money. So you still see that is what we are having. So I think that they are reinforcing, and when it comes to women themselves, you find that one, there are women who are the first ones to say that feminism is a scam. Why? Because cultural beliefs and also some other beliefs. Because the whole meaning of submission for me, I do not think that it says that you should step on me, I just keep quiet and allow you to do whatever. For me, submission generally means I respect you. And that is what people do not get. I will allow you to make your decision, but also allow me to give my input. That is all we are asking for.
It's not subservient. Let's bring in this side of the conversation. And
Yasmin will come to you shortly.
Yes. So I just wanted to weigh in on what Hope had said about the women's role in economic growth, and the fact that even right now, globally, 1 in 4 women and girls actually spend more time in household chores than boys and men, and that typically lowers your productivity in terms of economically, whether you're working or whether you're in school or whatever the case. Already, by virtue of that alone, we are disadvantaged as women. But also, we have globally, all around the world, internationally, women also face a lot of sexual-related violence. I think as at mid-September, if I'm not wrong, in Kenya we had about 73 or 72 women who've either died or have gone through sexually related violence, which is really sad.
Away from the femicide we saw at the beginning of this year.
I mean, that's just adding up.
It's an addition, cumulative, like from January all the way to September. And I think the latest case is the lady from Nakuru County who was doused with fuel and set alight.
Yes.
And these are the things that make us see that we are not there yet. Women's rights are human rights. So our roles may be different, but our needs need to be looked at because the gender is different. We're not the same.
Yeah. Vivian, do you think how we were schooled, how we were taught has played a role into this? Because what you're saying, that society teaches you cleaning, doing household is a chore that is for the girl. When basically, I read this, it should be a basic human survival. Whether you're a man or a woman, you should just know how to cook, how to clean a house. It's basic human survival. So do you think how we are educated, how we are taught, has had a role to play?
How we are cultured, and remember we're in a patriarchal society, so we've come from generations of women being your places in the kitchen. You're here to be seen, not to be heard. So there are just so many cultural discriminative practices that we have to get over. And the beauty about our current constitution is that it supports equality and equity of both. Men and women have equal rights. The problem is in the implementation. So we have it on paper and in theory, but in terms of delivery, in terms of speaking about it, in terms of making sure that these things are actually being done, there's a big difference. And those are the gaps we're trying to bridge. But before I actually finish, there was a conversation around access to sanitary pads and just also the role of men, seeing as we have only one man. I actually want to applaud.
I want to say two. keep going. I'm here, somebody shouted two in my ears. I needed to say yes.
I really want to
one
applaud.
man's giving his opinion. Yes.
Because today is International Day of the Girl, and we're supposed to celebrate and appreciate everyone who's doing something in relation to, just lifting women up. So my friend King Kaka, he has this initiative called Bank on Me that aims to provide sanitary towels to at least 100,000 girls. I think that's brilliant. He's a man, he's a guy, but he appreciates that, lack of this necessity means girls are not in school. And so he's gone out of his way to make sure that girls are going to school. I think if we had just five more
others like that, we'd be
very, very
we need to take a break, and I want to try to get everyone's comment in. So let's, Stephanie, go ahead.
Okay, one thing about the gender and boys feeling like they're being left behind. We don't want to leave anyone behind, because we are going to end up maybe in 108 years or so advocating for boys to be like girls. We don't want the never-ending cycle. We want us to be on the same page, and equal does not mean same. I guess that's the one thing we are failing to understand. Yes. We need to having equal opportunities. Okay, being given, let me clarify on the sector on equal not being same. It does not mean that you give me 2 slices of bread, you also give him 2 slices of bread. Maybe I don't need bread, I need something else. But because you're giving bread to get energy, maybe give me sweet potatoes because that's what I need to get energy. We are working to give girls, around not their comfort zone, but we want to empower them and make them move out of their comfort zone and actually go for what they want. Because to see it, to be it, they must see it. And we need to have more women, more examples of women leaders on board, so that we don't just see males, but we need to see women not fighting, but they get there because they are qualified to be there.
They're qualified to be there. Edwin, what do you want to say?
Just to add on what Hope said, I think
microphone.
I think it is wrong when we start giving people fighting for women opportunities, giving them names, because right now we are saying feminists. If you're fighting for women equal opportunity, you're called feminist. What is it for boys? When you're fighting for boys, what is the name?
What is that called?
Yes. What is the name? There is no name, because you see now gender stereotype. Those names are what at least I want us to get away from. Let's not have a name for somebody fighting for equal opportunity.
Janet feels it was necessary.
Because when we say I'm a feminist because I'm fighting for women, I always say no. I'm
because
not
you feel
feminist.
It then creates a category.
Yeah, it
and those who don't consider themselves feminists might feel excluded,
left out. So what I do as a safety and inclusive city ambassador, and I also do TOT, trainer of trainers. What we do is we train more men than even women. We involve more men in the meetings than women. Because
do you consider yourself a feminist?
No, I don't call myself names, because it doesn't have to. If you're fighting for boys, what is the name you call me? You see, so just let feminists aside.
Does he have a point?
Because I could also say she wants to push back. The reason why those terms were created was because even look back at the 1900s, the suffragettes movement, was because no woman was allowed to vote ever. And then you had a group of women who pushed for that to happen. All these strides that have been made, I believe that name was created because there was absolutely no opportunity for them. And therefore, I get what you're trying to see. Labels can work, but they can't work. But I do believe terms like feminism are necessary, because it speaks to, the work that has been done in the past, but what stands to be done. I get that we're making progress. Men like you, I think, are incredibly important. But at the same time, we can't take away from where a lot of this stemmed from. But when you had women who didn't.
Let me play Edwin's advocate and say that, is it okay for me to, yes, believe in what feminism believes in, equality for both the boy child and the girl child, etc., but not wanting to be called a feminist? I don't want that label, but yes,
because the terms of the possible baggage.
Yes, but I do advocate for.
I'm really interested to hear. I hope it's like I'm going to win.
I want to hear Yasmin's voice on this one.
Okay, the label. no, I mean, I think whatever, for you, I still, sometimes, you're called, you're siloed or pigeonholed into something. You don't necessarily have to take that. But what I'm saying is we still need movements like the feminist movement. I truly believe we do, because there's still so much to be done.
Okay. I don't know what you're going to answer. You've been scribbling a lot.
Yes, actually, I call myself a black unapologetic feminist because I fight for equal opportunities for both male and female. And talking about empowerment, you say that men feel like girls are being empowered more. I feel it's not true. Simply because, why is it that there's still high rate of teenage pregnancy? Why? Why is it that these female, there's no healthy relationship, in that you'll find a lot of cases of femicide? Why? So, I feel girls and women are still in need of empowerment. And about gender, and women being in the stereotypes that are attached to women is that it was socially constructed. You'll find that the culture we are living in, it's something that we grew up in, that women are supposed to be in the kitchen, women are not supposed to be in decision-making tables, and that's actually what we are fighting for. And what we do now is to engage women in decision-making processes, and also women to take part in both policy and decision-making. And I'd also like to say that about men being involved, or rather men being engaged in with girl child empowerment, is that I think it all started when I was back in primary school, when you'll find there's these life skills trainers who came and separated girls from boys. They'll term it like it's a girl talk. So I think it all started back then, and that built up the barriers between girls and boys. And now what we are actually doing, actually as a feminist, because I'm fighting for equal opportunities for both. In any empowerment session I'm taking, I'll also engage with boy child.
They'll be there in the same room.
They'll definitely be there. Actually, today we are having a dialogue, and some of my panelists are also boy child. They are in for that dialogue. And yes,
briefly,
and also
please, you take a break. Go ahead.
Okay, and we are trying as much as we can to demystify the myths and remove and to change the perception that men have out there about feminism. Yes.
Thank you. Wow. We have so much feedback.
All of them should be vice president.
Vice president.
Zinzi is so excited right now. I think this is best show so far. Best show. Okay, let's see what people are saying. 224. Oh, I'm told we have a problem with our feedback.
All right.
Okay, we had like. Oh, it's back on now. Let's take a look at tweets and SMSs. 2242 is the SMS line. The hashtag is Daybreak. I'm curious to see what people have to say out there, and that should be up shortly on the screen. And I'm just talking now.
Yes, and you also look at the screen.
Should we take the break? And then, okay, it's on. Good. Let's see what you have to say. Jacob Abere says, girl child has a long way to go as far as social economic pedestals are concerned. Why? We have been fighting for affirmative action in leadership. A few get opportunities and forget others. Okay, that's an interesting point.
All right. Twitter, hashtag Daybreak is your ticket into the conversation. Asamo, I hope I pronounced that right. You say we are still discussing this instead of asking government where it has been taking millions budgeted for provision of sanitary pads.
Janet, you can talk a little bit about that when we come back. Engineer Leakey, women empowerment wouldn't go anywhere. It's done in a wrong way. They lack objectives. They just talk about it but do nothing about it. It's like they're fighting men, and that's why we've left them on their own.
Okay.
You can decide, panelists, who will
He
respond
goes on to say, women empower. Oh, that's the same one.
Same one, okay.
Thank God, Jagush. It's good to see you this morning. You say, despite the interventions by various bodies, girl children still suffer at the hands of gender-based violence, female genital mutilation, teenage pregnancy. We can do better. Our girls deserve better.
All right, thank you. No name here, but you say gender equality should be addressed as a human principle. What I see happen is many people address it with a push from either oppression or a suffering they've faced, thus losing the point. All right. We still have Oh, now we're going to SMSs.
22422. Tell us your name and you're watching from, just like Gilbert, all the way in Mombasa. You say, Happy Girls' Day. I am a supporter of girl child empowerment, but can that happen without forgetting the boy child? Why am I saying so? We are losing strides because most of the time it looks like a war between men and women. We equally need focused men for us to be able to protect the girl child, and the converse is true.
That we need focused women to protect the boy child. I think Hassan Saleh from Umia says, in my view, the girl or woman of the world have bought a narrative that they're entitled to things for free, or somebody somewhere will work it out for them. It's time they buy a narrative that for anything to be achieved, they must work hard. In my view, being a woman or a girl or beautiful alone doesn't mean you must have something to put or contribute on the table. This fighting is just the creation of the mind to benefit the so-called activists. Okay, those are the views of an audience, a viewer, not of Citizen TV.
Gumbao, you say, if it was a country we want to end all this fight, it must be boys 50 and girls 50%.
Okay, another SMS here from, okay, same one. Let's go to the next one. Sanixon Dugira from Kindaruma. Unfortunately, the girl child is yet to make firm, rational decisions on her own. Therefore, the scarcity of women presidents. Okay.
I mean, I don't, okay. Kelvin Kyoko from Embakasi, you say, empowering the girl only, you are dividing the family and the results are already seen.
Wow. We have to take a break. All right, we'll give you each. So we'll have short responses from everyone when we come back, because our time is actually up. I know it's crazy. So they're preparing themselves because some of them want to jump in right now. Let's take that break.